What's happening, YouTube? Welcome back to a 4-player fixed cards game. This time I'm playing against two grandmasters who are orange and blue, and I'm not sure what rank the purple player is, but all of these players are subscribers, so they are better than random people that you can find online. So moving into the gameplay, the blue player has just captured South America. So in order to balance him out and make sure he doesn't become too strong, I need to capture Australia, and then we can both start getting 2 troops per turn. In 4-player fixed cards, it's really good if you are not the weakest player out of the 4, because you can become a very easy target to be taken out, being the 4th player, because the rest of the 3 players can afford teaming up against you, or one of the strongest players can afford taking you out of the game if they see it's possible. And the reason for that is after you take out someone in a 4-player situation, now there's 3 people left, and the game can continue to go on being fully balanced with 3 players. So it's perfectly fine to take out the 4th player who's not needed for the balance of the game. And currently, the 2 weakest players in this game are actually orange and purple. So theoretically, blue and I could team up against either orange or purple in order to make it a 3-player situation instead of a 4-player situation. So this is why I decided to attack some of orange and purple to make them the weakest players in the game, and then it'll become easy for us, the strongest players, blue and I, to team up against either of them. In addition to weakening orange and purple, if I also am able to capture Europe, that will be another bonus if I'm able to successfully hold that. By moving my troops out of Africa into Europe, I've actually improved my relations with the blue player by allowing him to capture Africa in the future. This will also mean that he is more likely to team up with me if I'm being nice to him and allowing him to expand. It will also mean that it's very likely that he won't attack me into Europe once I capture it on this turn. One of the most important, if not the most important parts of fixed cards is diplomacy. So if I have good relations with the other players, who I'm not trying to take out, then I can use their alliance to my advantage and help me deal with the other players. However, instead of taking my alliance too seriously, the blue player decided to invade me into Europe. The good thing about this is I wasn't actually trying to hold Europe, I was just seeing if they would allow me to hold it, because I wasn't protecting it with very many troops, so it wasn't surprising when the blue player did actually decide to invade me. Going for Europe was sort of a side mission. My main goal right now is to either take out the purple player or the orange player, whichever one I can take out and get their cards from. So if I'm able to take out either purple or orange and not lose too many troops, like if I only lost around 20 troops from taking them out, and I also received cards from them, so that I can turn in a set after taking them out, then it would be worth taking out the 4th player who's not needed in the game. Another thing that I did on my turn was I decided to unleash the blue player's biggest army in Brazil so that he can use it to fully take out purple or orange, or simply weaken them so that either of us, me or blue, could finish taking them out in a future turn. For now, it doesn't make sense for me to go for either of orange or purple, so instead of that, I just decide to place my troops in Europe and then move my army there. So I have one main army protecting Australia and a secondary army ready to attack anyone when necessary. So, for example, if the blue player chose to capture Africa, I could potentially invade him just to make sure that the balance of the game is sustained and he's not making more troops than the rest of us. But it looks like the blue player is just being very passive and just turtling in South America. He's even making his army blocked and landlocked so he can't attack anyone else. The blue player in this situation with the blizzard on Central America is essentially being the Australian turtle, except his army is landlocked. And the reason I'm saying that is because he only has one border to defend while holding South America, and he's also getting the same number of troops than I'm also getting. The only difference being that his army is blocked, and it doesn't make sense for him to keep his army blocked like that unless he's trying to show that he's not going to attack anyone else. Now, for example, if the purple player or if orange were to capture Africa, then it would make sense for him to keep his army blocked, and it would make sense for him to actually move his troops to either Venezuela or Peru, just to show that he's not going to attack anyone. But in this situation, with nobody going for Africa, it doesn't make sense for him to stay passive like that. It doesn't give him any advantage in this 4-player situation. I could, in theory, just be a passive Australian turtle, just as the blue player is being a passive South American turtle, but instead of that, I'm being a little bit more aggressive in that I'm actually focusing on targeting the orange player because I want to make sure that either orange or purple will be eliminated first so that this game doesn't take hours and we're just turtling and doing nothing, only taking one territory per turn. So finally, the blue player realizes that it doesn't make sense for him to be so passive by putting his army in Brazil, and instead he can simply place his army in North Africa, having the same exact border to defend South America with, but having his army unleashed so that he can use it to attack any of the other players when necessary. So you might be wondering if the blue player's plan and if my plan is the same, just to take out either orange or purple, what should orange or purple do in this situation? That's a very interesting question. So if I was either orange or purple, they kind of have two different options. Option number one is they can team up against either blue or me, being the red player. They can try to team up against the strongest players in order to make it not worth it for the strongest players. In this case, blue and I have the opportunity or the ability to take out orange or purple. So they can either team up against the strongest players in order to make it difficult for us to team up against them, or the second option is they can work with the strongest players to attack the other weaker player so that they are not the target and the other weaker player becomes the target of the game. Now, the mistake of the game, the biggest mistake of this game for the orange player was trying to capture Europe when he was the weakest player, one of the weakest players in this game. Holding Europe is one of the hardest, if not the hardest, continents to hold, especially having 4 borders to defend with. It's hard enough holding Europe when you're the strongest player, but it's literally impossible if you're trying to hold it if you're the weakest player or one of the weakest players. From the orange player's perspective, maybe he thought that, hey, if I capture Europe and the purple player captures North America, and if blue captures Africa, then we can all make the same number of troops, and then basically we can go and take out this pesky nuisance of a Australian player from the game who is not needed and who is the weakest player in this hypothetical situation. We should do that, right? Well, theoretically, that would be a very smart choice if you were able to successfully hold Europe, and if Purple was able to successfully hold North America, then you could work to team up against the nuisance of a Australian player, and theoretically, that is exactly how you deal with the Australian turtle strategy, is you can team up to take out the weakest player in a 4-player situation. However, what he didn't realize is I can just simply take him out of the game, being that he's the weakest player, get his cards, so then I can turn in a set, and what's even better is the balance of the game has not been ruined, because I'm turning in 2 sets by getting 8 cards. So the troops that I lost by taking out the orange player have been partially, if not fully, made up by the 20 troops that I just got from taking out orange. So after taking out the orange player, the strongest player in this game is now the blue player. So now it's necessary for Purple and me to start teaming up against blue to make sure that he doesn't become stronger than both of us combined. Because if that ever happens, then he can simply take out both of us in a single turn and get a very easy victory. The biggest mistake that the blue player is continuing to make is he's continuing to have his army blocked in Africa, which is good for Purple and me. If he continues to just turtle and waste his troop advantage, then we can restore the balance of the game, and the purple player can start to equalize blue in terms of troops so that he's not the strongest in this game. And seeing that the blue player could potentially become too powerful, Purple and I are making sure that we only attack the blue player just to make sure that he's weakest. At this point in the game, I actually decided to unleash the blue player's main army. I realized that if blue takes my bait, and if he decides to take out the purple player, then that would be a mistake, because he can't fully take him out of the game without giving me the victory by not being able to win the game after taking out purple. In 3-player situations, I like to use the strategy where you bait one of the 3 players into taking out the other player in the game when it's not possible for them to do so. This is a strategy that I used in my last fixed cards game, and it helped me to win by baiting the other player to take out the 3rd player, and then not realizing that I could end up winning after that. And it looks like my plan to bait the blue player into taking out purple is coming into fruition. The blue player in this situation decided to go for purple, losing 48 troops to the 51. So he got a good attacking advantage, and now he's got a set so he can use to blitz my biggest army on Siam. He even got an advantage over there. And technically, if you look at the troop count currently, I am losing this game. However, the advantage that I have over the blue player in the 1 versus 1 situation is that my main army was fully unleashed, and I got to attack him first in the 1 versus 1 situation, capturing all of his territories, or the majority of them, taking over Australia, Asia, and North America, and deciding to keep his army in Africa blocked so that he can only attack me through the Middle East, which is why I fortified my troops into one bigger army instead of 2 smaller armies so that I will have a better chance when he eventually decides to attack me. So, while he was able to invade me into Asia and South America, I was able to turn in my set, and not only that, I was also able to get 11 troops by holding a lot of territory and even holding North America. I was also able to, on my turn, capture South America. Now, fortunately for me, the blue player only received 4 troops from his set, so he was unable to invade me into South America as well. He was only able to invade me into North America, which allowed me to capture Australia and almost fully take him out on my turn. In his final turn, the blue player tried in a failed attempt to try to do one last hit against me, but at this point the game was fully over and now I'm just finishing him off. So this is yet another example of how to win in the 3-player situation by baiting out one of the 3 players to take out the 3rd player so that you can get a victory after they mistakenly choose to take out the 3rd player. Thanks for watching.